folks. Welcome to another tropical update from Cayman Hurricane Center. And, folks, again, we have watched overnight and into the morning time here for the landfall of Hurricane Milton, which Milton made landfall yesterday evening, a bit earlier than I expected, but indeed made landfall in Florida as a very dangerous major hurricane. A bit weaker than our Category 5 intensity that we saw earlier in the Gulf of Mexico, but nevertheless, still quite impactful major hurricane as it went into Florida. Just quickly running into the details here of our Hurricane Milton, and we could see the satellite imagery over the past couple of days as it made its way into Florida. As Milton made its way into Florida, just noting landfall. Landfall occurred at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or about 00:30 UTC. And again, that was roughly 27,382.6, and that occurred right around Siesta Key in Sarasota County, 5 miles west of Sarasota, and about 115 southwest of Orlando, Florida. Again, was a major hurricane. Again, winds a fair bit lower than our peak intensity. Winds were at 120. The movement at the time was towards the east-northeast at 15, and the pressures there was around 954 millibars when the Hurricane Milton made landfall. Now, how is Milton doing now? What's Milton up to? Well, here is Milton now currently, and the latest available information here on Milton here, 28.5, 80.5, about 10 miles northeast of Cape Canaveral, Florida, and about 255 miles northwest of Great Abacos Island in the northwestern Bahamas. Winds are now at 85 miles per hour, the movement to the northeast at 18, and a pressure of 976 millibars. So again, folks, with Milton, again, that was Leslie. We'll come to Leslie here in just a moment, but with Milton, again, you could see that the storm surge watches, warnings, and all the hurricane and tropical storm warnings have now been discontinued for western side of Florida, albeit that parts of the western part of Florida are still in some of those tropical storm conditions. But again, that is going to be leaving as the system moves further offshore here. But again, we still do have tropical storm warnings from southern South Carolina through Georgia into the eastern Florida here, northeastern Florida, and we do have, again, our tropical storm warning for the southeastern parts of Florida and parts of northwestern Bahamas still, and we still do have our hurricane warning here in this area. Again, we do expect that Milton will continue to move east, northeast, and turning more eastwards, of course, winding down as it moves over the southwest Atlantic. We could see some action there near Bermuda where they will be getting some storm force winds. But again, by this time, we do expect that Milton would have transitioned into a post-tropical or extratropical cyclone at that point in time. Still impacts to be felt there in Bermuda, but not as a tropical entity at that point in time. Again, hurricane force winds extending out 35 miles from the center. Tropical storm force 205 miles from the center. We noted that winds of hurricane force are being recorded in some areas of Florida. Mostly a lot of tropical storm force now that the core of the system is pulling away from the coast. But again, we will continue to monitor that. Again, we do note that the impacts of storm surge still exist here. Again, we'll likely see that easing for the western side of Florida. For the eastern side of Florida, that'll be continuing on for some time. But again, Sebastian Inlet to Altima Sound, Georgia, 3 to 5 feet. St. John's River, 2 to 4. Middle of Longboat Key to Bonita Beach, 2 to 4. Charlotte's Harbor, 2 to 4. An additional rainfall amounts of 2 to 4 inches for east, central, and northeastern Florida. Again, we do expect that hurricane conditions will be winding down for Florida. Tropical storm conditions, though, still continuing for Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and the Bahamas. Again, swells generated by this system are still impacting the eastern or southeastern portions of the U.S., and we do note that some of those swells, again, in the Gulf of Mexico, parts of the northwestern Caribbean, that will be winding down here today as well. Again, in terms of impacts, very far-reaching impacts in the state of Florida. Power outages quite significant here. We could see here, and just updating, about roughly 3,280,000 customers without power. We could definitely see where the most severe impacted areas are within this vicinity here of Florida, again, near the Tampa Bay region and areas to the south and east. Some parts of the northeastern parts of Florida here also badly impacted there with power outages there. Folks, we've been watching closely overnight, and again, severe storm surge impacts a lot of tornado warnings yesterday, and we do see impacts of tornadoes there on the ground there for Florida, so a lot of recovery going to be done. We do have a number of other systems that we are monitoring out there. Quickly just running through Hurricane Leslie out there. A bit of a unusual one, certainly fighting the odds. Just quickly running the numbers here: 22.9, 49.8, 1,700 miles west-southwest of the Azores, winds 105 miles per hour, moving northwest at 6, pressure 972. So that is what we have of Leslie. Again, expected to weaken eventually as we get into the weekend and onwards on the way to Europe, and not expected to be anything significant like Kirk, but nevertheless, we do have that. We do also have a couple other systems we're monitoring, and we're also going to be monitoring back again the Western Caribbean as we get into next week. Possible development in this region once again, and generally a north and then northeastward track somewhere over the northwestern Caribbean or the eastern Gulf. Again, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Honduras, the Yucatan, Florida, once again, needs to be monitoring for development as we go into next week. Definitely not good news for Floridians there after just being smacked just now from and still being impacted from Milton. And we'll watch how things progress. Folks, we'll have some further updates coming later today. That's it for now. And Again, this has been your update from Cayman Hurricane Center.